It's accessible. Who can save mankind?
Growing up as an Afro-German woman in Berlin with a Ghanaian father and a German mother, I didn't really think much about having mixed-race parents at first. As a child, that's just your normal and it's all you know, so you don't really question it much. But over time, it's society, I would say, that makes you start to think more about your family constellation or your identity. And it's often said that people with mixed heritage try to find their place between two cultures. That's definitely been also true for me. My siblings and I were mostly socialized in Germany, and we didn't get to travel to Ghana regularly to connect with our family there. So I would say because of this is also why we were more immersed in German culture and less exposed to Ghanaian traditions or ways of living. So it actually wasn't until we were older that we started to get in touch with our Ghanaian relatives as well. However, my father's influence through his music, food, and mentality was still always a part of our lives, and also shaping how we view the world. And so while we grew up feeling more German, those elements of our Ghanaian heritage have always been there, and also I would say adding layers to our sense of who we are.
I love how you said that. Adding layers to who we are. Very well said. To all of those that are just tuning in, I am your DJ and host, Fola SHAY. You're listening to Berlin is a Gemini on 98.2 FM. I'm talking to one of our callers, Rebecca, and she's been sharing her experiences on being a Black woman in Berlin. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. And we're back. I'm your DJ and host, Fola SHAY. You're listening to Berlin is a Gemini on 98.2 FM. So to pick back up, we've been talking with you, Rebecca, about your experiences being a Black woman in Berlin. How has your perspective of your Blackness changed over time, evolved over time?
Over the time, I certainly have developed a much deeper pride and confidence in my heritage as well as in my Blackness. As girls, we mostly had role models like Barbie or, and celebrities like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. So mostly all white women with, those silky, blonde, straight hair. And of course, like this limited representation of Black women made it quite challenging to see beauty and our own identities. So over the time, and of course also nowadays with the rise of social media, there has been a powerful advocacy for Black people, especially women, to also embrace their natural beauty and heritage. And I would say this movement has been incredibly impactful to just, help many of us feeling proud of our skin, as well as natural hair. So it's not just about self-acceptance for us, but also about empowering the next generation of, black children, black girls, to appreciate their identity and to embrace it.
Yeah, that's what it really boils down to. What are we saying to the youth, the kids that are watching us? To follow up with that, how has your mixed heritage influenced your sense of identity and belonging in Germany?
Yeah, my mixed heritage has often made me feel like a bit stuck between two cultures, like I mentioned before, or two different worlds, never really feeling fully accepted by either side. So in Germany,
you're listening to 102.6 The Hot. And up next, something to keep us warm. Between by Cody
I feel like no matter how perfectly you speak the language or how deeply you understand the culture, you still find yourself having to justify your identity as a German because you're also black. So it feels like you can never fully claim your German or white side because people see the visible difference and question your belonging. So on the other hand, there are times when it feels like I'm not black enough either to fully claim my black identity. But if I had to choose, I definitely would say I feel more welcomed and accepted by the black community. And I would say this acceptance comes from, shared experiences of being black in Germany, facing similar challenges. And, that just creates a bond, and that sense of belonging and solidarity definitely also means a lot to me.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking about all the ways that solidarity shows up for me. When I go out and I would see just one black person, and there would be a form of acknowledgement with a wave, a head nod, a smile. It's like, hey, I see you, and I recognize that you're here. That bond that you share in your community, it always feels like a warm hug or something.
On other people. However, I just noticed that whenever I approach older people, and still until this day, I automatically switch into this good Ausländer, the good foreigner mode. And I try to appear extra eloquent and friendly, just to counteract like any stereotypes they might have about foreigners. And it feels a bit stupid, I must say, but it's just like an automatic response that I've developed over the time.
I think that's interesting that you guys do that over here too. I think it's a universal concept that black people share. Talking in your proper white voice. In the States, we call it code switching. But to all of those that are just tuning in, I am your DJ and host, Fola SHAY. You're listening to Berlin is a Gemini on 98.2 FM. I'm talking to one of our callers, Rebecca, and we've been talking about her experiences on being a black woman in Berlin and in Germany. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. are back. I hope you enjoy that funky tune. I'm your DJ and host, Fola SHAY. We're talking to Rebecca, and she's been sharing with us her experiences on being a Black woman in Berlin. So before we went to break, we were talking about code switching. In lieu of that, what challenges or triumphs have you faced in expressing and embracing your Black identity in Germany?
Biggest challenge in itself, which is just to be true to yourself. This is quite challenging in general, I would say. But I learned over the time that even a very trivial thing, which is like wearing my hair out, as an afro or whatever, was always connected with me with the fear of standing out, or being, just like the object of interest, like especially moving around in very wide spaces where there's always the expectation of someone coming up to you to ask, and best case to ask before they touch your hair, or just grabbing, into your hair, or getting asked questions, or statements like, oh, your hair is as soft as wool, whatever it is. This definitely has become for me like a way of expressing my identity while being proud of it, and maybe also now not even fearing confrontations like that, and trying to interpret some of the interactions, or statements of coming from people, to interpret them as something positive, when it comes from a very genuine place. But also to just draw the line, and to express when someone is just crossing a line, like with getting touched or being asked stupid questions. So once you have accomplished this level of being just true to yourself, this is a triumph as well. So I would say it's both. It's a challenge and a triumph in itself to stay true to yourself.
It's a challenge and a triumph to stay true to yourself. That's such a true statement for people of color. So, how did you come into understanding racism as a child?
As a child, and as a child growing up in the 90s, I wasn't fully aware of discrimination or racism, or didn't recognize it as such. I just felt the impact certain situations had on me, or whether I felt comfortable or uncomfortable in certain situations. And looking back, I realized I probably encountered much more racism, even subtle forms, than I remember now. And these subtle forms, like being treated differently or feeling excluded, often went unnoticed at the time, but accumulated to shape my understanding of race and ethnicity in Germany. However, the direct confrontations are the ones that have stayed with me the most, like being called the N-word or hearing insults about my skin color. And those are the experiences that have left a lasting impression and have also influenced my confidence and how I perceive my mixed race identity here in Berlin. I can only speak from my experience growing up in Berlin, which is, known for its multicultural society and also more tolerant atmosphere. Here you might not register racial discrimination or racism as much as in other parts of Germany, where looking different can sometimes provoke already much more confrontational behavior from the white majority. So it's through these experiences, these different experiences, that I learned to navigate my identity and find strength in my heritage. And understanding that race and ethnicity are perceived differently depending on where you are in Germany. That said, I also don't want to wear my blackness as a label or define my entire identity by it. For me, it's also feeling good in my own skin and recognizing my value as a human being is what also, matters, and maybe also what truly matters. So I would say it comes together, feeling proud about my blackness, but also not making it the only characteristic about me.
So we are back. I am your DJ and host, Fola SHAY. You're listening to Berlin is a Gemini on 98.2 FM. We've been talking with you, Rebecca, about your experiences being a Black woman in Berlin. I wanted to know, is it taboo to talk about or celebrate Blackness in Berlin, or just Germany as a whole?
I wouldn't say that talking about or celebrating blackness is a taboo per se, but it can sometimes lead to negative reactions when done openly. So, for example, like events or workshops specifically for minorities like Black women often get like complaints from white people who feel excluded, or they feel like it's a discrimination or racism against white people. But yeah, they don't understand that the focus isn't on excluding others. It's about empowering and creating safe spaces for communities that don't always have them in a predominantly white society. So I would say in Berlin, we're very fortunate to have these accesses or more access to these opportunities. But this isn't the case everywhere. So I assume like in smaller cities, more conservative cities, or especially like in Eastern Germany, Black people or minorities often don't have the same access to these safe spaces.
So how do you perceive the representation of Afro-Germans in media, politics, and culture?
Yeah, Afro-Germans in media, specifically like in movies, series, often seem to be cast in roles that needed some kind of justification for the presence, meaning that Black characters were usually given specific purposes, like being the refugee that doesn't speak German properly, or just the foreigner, rather than just an existing part of the story. While I feel like this has been slowly changing, with more Black characters appearing as police officers, doctors, or without needing a special backstory. I feel like still the issue is there. It still persists. And you can also extend this to politics. A Black politician's heritage or appearance still becomes or often becomes a focal point and might even overshadow their work. And it's very shocking that in this day, still, Black politicians face racial discrimination, and even leading some to step back from their position. I feel like we should be progressing by now and, not going steps back. And but I hope that despite all those challenges, that it doesn't discourage Black people, especially Black women, from pursuing their goals, and regardless of the criticism and hate they might face.
That was very beautifully said, Rebecca, and such a great way to end the show. This conversation confirmed that in order to understand a country and its culture, it's important to talk to the locals. So thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story with us. I really enjoyed gaining more insight into the realities of Black women in Berlin. So many of us can understand and relate to the things that you said. And thank you to all of the listeners that tuned in today. I'm your DJ and host, Fola SHAY. You're listening to Berlin is a Gemini on 98.2 FM. I'll see you all next week.